In this video I am trying to make or hopefully I'll be making a leather pouch for a Bushcraft multi-tool. I've had this many years and the original pouch that came with it is long gone, so I'm using some leather offcuts because I know these ones are all too small to make any sheaths with. So I've got a piece soaking in some water over here, room temperature water or slightly above room temperature, so you don't want it boiling because the leather will shrink, and you don't want it cold really because it just slow the process down. So what I'm going to do in this step is, so they're all rough sizes, I haven't trimmed any of these up yet, they're just how they come off. What I'm going to do is place this over the multi-tool and use some offcuts of shiplap which have got a curved edge on them so they don't dig into the leather, and clamp those around the outsides to hold the leather down while it's forming, just so that it tries to sort of retain the shape. Now I'm not sure if this will be totally successful because this is 4mm thick leather, so it's quite a thick leather to wet form, but hopefully we should have some success. So that's been soaking for quite a while now, around about half an hour, so it should be plenty pliable. So now what I'm going to do is use my G-clamps to attach it or clamp it down around here. There we go. So if I go all the way up to the top, so that it'll give me a little bit extra to cut off. It's better to have too much than too little. And that wants to be level with the bottom end, so around there. We clamp that one down first. That back end of there. Give it a little bit more room actually. So these clamps don't have to be ultra tight, as long as they stop the leather moving. Generally leather will shrink ever so slightly when it dries. A bit more pressure on those now. One across the bottom. Okay. go. And that's clamped in there now. You see the multi-tool in there. And what I've got to do is wait for that to dry off. You can probably see it a little bit easier. Well, there is wait for that to dry off now, and hopefully that will retain its shape around the multi-tool. Okay, I'll join you in a minute. Right, I've taken the leather out of the mould now. It's dried, but you'll notice that it's gone a bit sort of blotchy and black and horrible in places. Not entirely sure what that is, but I've been told it does do it with some leathers. So there was nothing in the water. It was clean water, and there was it started doing this after about 15 minutes. So it's not mould or mildew, I wouldn't have thought. Although it does look a little bit like it, but it's going to get proofed and dyed brown anyway, so that doesn't matter. Anyway, now what I've got to do is trim it up, because as you can see, it's obviously just a rough shape at the moment. So I've got my sharp knife, and I've marked it already, and what I've used to mark it was a pair of dividers, just to sort of mark how wide I wanted it out from the edges. In this case, I've gone for the minimum size at the top there and marked it all the way down. Okay. So there you go, that's a more even size all the way around now, and I'll round the corners off as well when it's all made and put together, because I can do that all in one go then. Okay, so the next step is marking the piece that's going to be on the back. Which is going to be this piece. Which is just about wide enough. Lightly score that first. So it doesn't have to be perfectly spot on at the moment, because I'm going to run a back felt sander over the edges of it once it's all stitched together and finished off, which will straighten them up and round the corners over. Okay, so that's that bit. Chop this off as well, don't need that. Right, so there we have the piece that will form the back, round that way, that will form the back, which will stitch on and fold, give us just enough to fold over and loop over. So what we've got to do now is roughly mark where the fold will be, which will be about there somewhere. Trim that off as well. And get our water again in the spray container. Get some out. Give it a little spray. Damp that down a bit. And that'll be the first fold. I've got to put another one in yet, but that's going to be the first fold that brings it over, and now I've got to mark where the next fold will be, which will be the closing fold, just there. This doesn't have to be solid, obviously, because when you open and close it, it's gonna bend around. So it doesn't have to be totally wet formed solid at this point, but just bend it into the shape so that it's a comfortable shape for the leather. Because if you don't make the leather comfortable, as I say, in its position, eventually it can crack where the fold is. So you have to moisten it and like stretch the outside layer and compress the inside layer of the leather with the fold, like so. And there you go. So when our front's on, it'll fold over like so, nice and relaxed. Now what I'll do is I'll round these corners off as well. Use my pencil. The light's not great in here, unfortunately, but I'll round these corners off like so, and on that side, just so that there's less hanging over on the edge. Okay, so next you need to make a belt loop for the back, and as luck happens, this offcut is pretty much belt loop shaped already. It doesn't have to be a massively thick belt loop, or wide rather, because the weight of the multi-tool isn't immense. But what I'll do is I'll square up the edges of this. Square this edge up first, I think. Now this is probably a little oversized for what I need, but I've got no other uses for this little piece of leather, or a bit of leather that will be left over. And what I want is enough so that it can attach on the back, fold over, and then stitch down at the bottom somewhere. So probably remember that long I'll do. And again, wet it where it's going to be folded over. So you can rub it in with your fingers if you want. Just work it into the leather a little bit. There we go, and that's fine. So there you go, you've got that shape, so it'll form a belt loop on the back, like so. Hopefully you can see that. I'll put it all together just so that you can see roughly what it's going to look like. Well, obviously it won't be black and horrible like that, but there you go. So what I've got to do now is attach the belt loop to the outside part first, because obviously when the front's sewn onto the back, you can't get to the rivets or to stitch it where you're going to attach that. So that needs to be done first. Now for this, all you need to do is centralise the belt loop. So this is 23mm in from that side, and 23mm in from that side. So before I do anything else, I'm just going to mark where that is, just in case I move it. about there. And what I should do before, actually I should have mentioned this before, is before I attach the belt loop to the back here, what I shall do is I'll stain or dye the inside of this, because you obviously won't be able to do that when it's done. What will be the inside on the back piece as well, where that will be. Don't really need to worry too much around the edges where the stitching is going to be, because I'm going to glue that with leather glue and stitch it anyway, and that'll all be covered together, so the glue will seal it as well. Plus the waterproofing that I use on it will soak into down the edges as well of the leather and get into the middle there. So I shall get back to you when I've got all of the dyeing equipment ready, and take it from there. Okay.